Are we feeling good about that video? I know you have to be in a much better place now that you have filmed with my authority video formula, the checklist, just knowing all the ins and outs of what makes a really good personable video. So your footage is probably ready to get edited because I don't know about you, but I take a lot of breaks when I'm filming just because, you know what, I gotta check my notes, take a drink of coffee. We've got some things we need to pare down. So we're not gonna waste any time. We're going over to the computer. If you don't remember, I wanna remind you now that we are going to be in Final Cut Pro, which is a professional level of editing. If you do not want to edit professionally yet, that is okay. I encourage you to follow along with this process to see the ins and outs of why I use a professional editor, but also the things that you can still do tactic-wise in any other editor. Specifically, my jump cutting strategy. You'll get an understanding of why it works and how it works. A lot of people don't get it right because they don't understand the secret to it. That's probably because it's a secret and they don't know it. So let's take care of that. But do not be discouraged just because you're seeing a spaceship that scares you and you may not want to use it. There's still going to be some things that you're going to hear me talk about and see me in action doing that will help you make sense of how things turn out so nice at the end of the day. In other words, when the video is live. So let's head over to the computer and start editing that vlog.
All right, so we've taken some of the initial steps here. You'll notice we are in Final Cut Pro. This is the Mac compatible professional editor, and I went ahead and made a video for the purposes of this editing sample, and I've imported that here into my library, as well as one more video asset that I'm going to need for some other stuff. I also wanted to show you one of the reasons why I really love working with professional editing software is that you can, just like with a website, one that's self-hosted, you have a lot more flexibility to add features than you would one that is sort of beginner oriented. And so if you actually come over here and look at my titles, you'll notice that I have something called MTuber. And this is a plugin. I've downloaded lots of other plugins too, but this one's really nice. And we're going to use it in the sample today. And it's basically just these really nice graphics that you might not have been able to have otherwise if they weren't already designed for you. And so we're going to be using this for things like titles and calls to action. And you'll be able to see them in action actually on the video later. But I just want to point out that anytime you need something like this, then you should just do a search for it on Google. I literally found this by searching graphics, title graphics for Final Cut Pro. And that's how much it costs. I think I got it at a discount. Sometimes they do discounts, but this website, MotionVFX, I have bought probably so many things from this company. And a lot of people ask me about my graphics. They figure that I designed them or had them made, and I really haven't. You can get graphics for like everything, and all you have to do is just watch the I'm going to turn this down so I don't have to hear it because they always have some like fun music with their trailer, but you can see what the graphics are going to look like before you buy them by watching these trailers and kind of seeing, okay, this looks cool. You know, I wanted to make a scrapbooky type of video for my family, and being able to look at the graphics and say, wow, that would make it 100 billion times better than me just stitching some photos and videos together. So you kind of get the point. You can really go to just Google and say, hey, I need some professional graphics, I need title graphics, but they'll bring you to a website like this and start showing you some options. So I just wanted you to be aware of that there's always something you can buy. And one thing that I've been investing in, but trying to be pretty wise with, is when I invest in these sort of like transition graphics or title graphics that otherwise I wouldn't be able to achieve. And sometimes that's what sets you apart from the other content online. So let's go back to Final Cut, and I'll show you more of that later, but I wanted to do it first before we really got into this super deep dive. I went ahead and made a pretty short video. It's a total of 7 minutes and 23 seconds. And it's called 3 Ways to Get Happier. And I wanted you to see just what a regular video that hasn't been edited yet, but eventually gets edited down, would look like. So remember, we're going to be following all the steps that we just did in the last module, which includes filling in all the blanks on the filming notes, taking our thumbnail image, and everything in between. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we got to do is just start trimming it down. But usually, you could just drag it to the starting point of the video, right? We could just drag it to start. But we know that we made a thumbnail image at some point at the beginning. So I'm just going to kind of scan through here and watch for when I started posing. And okay. No. No. Okay. Now remember, you don't want to skim too fast because the moment that you actually sat really still is probably an arrow by arrow basis. I'm just moving the arrow one frame at a time. You can see how slowly my face is moving. We really want a very still image. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one. And so I'm going to go to this export button and hit save current frame. So you basically just need to find this option if you're not using Final Cut Pro in the software that you're using. Save current frame, next. And then what I will usually do here, let's go back into the sample folder. What I'll usually do is type photo 1, and that's my first option. And there's photo 2. Save current frame. Next. Photo 2. And fine, we'll take a third. Save. And I like to have as many of these to choose from as possible because at the end of editing the content, I'll feel like one is going to fit better than all the rest of them. So posed a few more times, but I think we have some good contenders there. And so now we're just going to trim it down. I'm going to turn this down in my ears because I am loud. Okay, so we're going to blade it right here and delete that section. Now we're back to the start. I'm trying to think. I'm going to unplug my headphones so that you can hear this a little bit better. All right, I've actually unplugged my normal microphone because I want you to be able to hear the audio that comes out from the computer. It's going to be an important component of this editing process. So if the room is a little bit empty and the computer is starting to get loud, I apologize, but you're really not going to get the gist of what I'm teaching unless you can hear what I'm actually saying in the video. So we've made that trim. Something I always look for is these little blips on the audio radar. Obviously our video and our audio is in the same linear track here, and you can hear this little click. It's a mouth noise that I make. So just getting you into the intricacies of the things I like to edit out already, so just listen for that.
We all feel a little bit...
You heard it.
We all feel...
And it's so weird. And sometimes I can hear myself doing it and I'll go back and do it again. But you can actually just cut it out. I just use the blade feature, or you could trim that. But you're really going to want to zoom in and you're going to need to learn the zoom feature. I'm using Command- to zoom out and Command+ to zoom in. You're going to see me do that quite a bit because it's how I get really in there. You want to be super zoomed in if you're going to trim because you want to do it frame by frame. But in that situation, I also could just use the blade and just cut. And so that's just the B button. And you can really find the right place to cut when you're scanning and using that blade. So I'm going to put it back on A, which is my pointer. My mouth noise is gone. I'm going to zoom out and play that.
We all feel a little bit down in the dumps sometimes, but don't worry, I have a couple of ideas to help you out.
So that is obviously our hook, our opening hook. So, hey, you made the right decision to click on this video called 3 Ways to Get Happier. I'm about to bring it, and I'm going to cut that opening. Now, for the sake of training here, I'm going to use the same background that I use on Amy TV for my title sequence. I'm going to pop that in. This is something I went to iStockPhoto for, and I just bought this graphic. They tend to get expensive depending on what you're looking at, but if you invest in one and you use it for every episode, it's totally worth it. I
can't remember what I paid for this, but I think it was more than $100, which seems ridiculous because it's like a 15-second bubble clip, but I wouldn't be able to make it. So it's nice when you can find one and kind of use it for your brand. Before we go any further, I just dropped that in so that I know I need it. Another thing is this face at the very beginning of the video is not my favorite to look at. With this technology the way it is, sometimes Wi-Fi is not quite up to speed the way we need it to. And if someone clicks on a YouTube video or clicks on any video or a video just shows up in their feed, they might have to look at this before the buffering catches up and then suddenly plays the video. My eyes are shut, my lips are pursed, so I don't want to look at that. I'm going to go over to my transitions. And let's go to cross dissolve. Now, something to keep in mind with Final Cut Pro is when you drop cross dissolve in like this, it's also going to do it to your audio, which is not okay. We need the audio to be at 100%. So I'm going to detach the audio. I'm just right-clicking to pull up that menu. And I'm going to drop cross dissolve in, and I'm going to shorten it a little bit because that's a little long.
We all feel a little bit down in the dumps.
It's a little bit better that way. Maybe we do need it to be longer.
We all feel a little bit down in the dumps sometimes.
See how that's a lot easier? As long as the audio kicks in at 100%, then this video can take a little bit longer to kind of join us. And so that's what's happening. We're just using cross dissolve or just a basic transition to make that a nicer opening.
We all feel a little bit down in the dumps sometimes, but don't worry, I have a couple of ideas to help you out.
Now, you can choose to do a hard cut like that to your title sequence, which is, I think, completely fine in this case, or you can cross dissolve. You do need to shorten this a little bit because you can't cross dissolve necessarily when there's nothing to cross dissolve. So you can decide to go either way there. I'm just going to leave that as a placeholder for now. This title sequence is not going to be any longer than just a couple of seconds, so I'm going to trim that up. And now we're going to trim here and play.
Hey, thanks for being here. My name is Amy. Welcome to my channel.
So just a typical opening there. We're going to blade that. And also, just keep in mind, like, I'm looking at my notes here. I'm looking at my filming notes. I'm getting ready. I'm locking eyes. Hello, eyes. I'm locking eyes with the camera as soon as I'm ready to start talking again. I'm not looking elsewhere. I'm not looking at my notes. A lot of people tend to still have their eyes on their notes when they start talking again. Well, you can look at them all you want in this section because we're going to be cutting it out. But your eyes need to be back up top because that's where you left them here.
Just because you're sad
and then sometimes you mess up. So we've got to cut that out. Crop. Here we go.
Just because you're sad sometimes doesn't mean that...
Actually, I messed up twice, and I can see that because of the audio pattern. And then I made a funny face at myself. So I was like, okay, we're going to skip that. You guys are going to know what you look like when you're editing and you mess up. I even notice it just by looking at the audio wave. Sometimes I don't even see it in my face.
It's okay to be sad sometimes, but it's also kind of annoying. So you have to be able to pull yourself out of a crappy feeling every once in a while. And I have some ideas to help you do that. So today we're going to talk about 3 ways to get a little happier.
So as you can see here, this was the content tease, and then actually it was just the content tease. So you can hear how we kind of talk about the topic very briefly. Oh yeah, you know, we all kind of get in a rut, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're really relating to the viewer there. And then you're saying, okay, we're going to talk about a couple of ways that you can get out of this. And that's really teasing. Now, what comes after the tease?
Before we jump in, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I make new videos every Wednesday, and I'd love to see you back.
So look at that. Very, very quick mini CTA, just as we instructed on the filming notes. Let's cut that down.
Before we jump in, make sure you subscribe to this.
And then, and what I was looking for there is I was kind of lazy cutting. Usually I try to get in really tight and cut it down as much as possible. I don't want a whole lot of extra time before I start talking.
Before we
That's going to come in handy later when we're talking about jump cut strategy. But for now, we just need to get this 7-minute clip to be as low as possible. So let's cut this down and see what we got.
The first idea to help you get happier is to start doing a gratitude journal.
So usually when I'm cutting, I will listen to myself talk, but I also sometimes just want to get rid of all this blank space. And you'll notice here, this little hump of audio is not worth keeping because it's a mouth noise. And so you'll really just recognize when you look at these audio waves what exactly is happening. But let's go ahead and keep listening because you should hear what you're saying.
I always thought this was going to be a lot harder than it actually is. I have a journal already, and I was like, well, what do I need a gratitude journal about? I can just write gratitude stuff in my regular journal. But I then found that I was actually forced to stay in the mindset of gratitude when I was writing this journal, which tended to keep me from writing things that weren't so nice.
So we're going to cut that there, and then cut that there.
So by staying in that positive headspace.
Also, I want you to listen to that double S.
So by
that we ended the word with an S and we started the next word with an S. Not that you're ever going to be able to plan that in real life, but that's actually something that when we look at jump cutting, how do we make that sound a little bit better? We're going to talk about that in a minute.
So by staying in that positive headspace and writing it out and taking those positive ideas out of my head and putting them down on paper, it immediately makes you so much happier because you realize, oh, there's some good things going on up there.
Cut. Now you can see I'm looking at a couple of different things over here. I don't know what I'm looking at there because my notes are on the other side, but let's zoom in to here and cut that out.
My second tip for getting a little bit happier is when somebody else feels like they...
And by the way, all I'm doing here is zooming in, zooming out, and pressing the space bar to play and pause the video. The reason why I keep doing that and it sounds like it's broken up is because sometimes those audio waves aren't visually exactly where they're supposed to be because the computer's trying to catch up. So I press pause so that I can make sure that the audio's in the right place.
They are impacting you a lot.
Little brief break here.
A lot. Like this.
So the best thing you can do in a jump cut video is to always let yourself finish a word, and even if you're ready to keep talking, allow there to be a break in that word, because we're going to add a jump cut there just for the sake of doing it, not necessarily because we need it, and we need the break in the two words to be very clean. The tendency for someone who's nervous talking on camera is to keep talking and making sure that every single word is attached to the other one so you can never have a break, and then it's very, very hard to edit that. So you can see the difference. If you're having to cut, let's say,
here is when somebody...
Let's say I wanted to cut out my lead up there. And I only wanted when, and we hit the when.
When somebody...
You can hear that it's not a natural when, because you can hear that it was a part of another word. And so because of that, it's tough to break in the middle of a sentence. It's possible, and I do it all the time. But if you're really trying to jump cut well, you'll know when it's time to stop and start to give yourself more of those clean editing opportunities.
A lot.
Those are very obviously two separate words, and that jump cut's going to sound even better because of it.
The ones that are being super negative, and if it weren't for them, you wouldn't be feeling so negative all the time.
And we'll cut in.
At this point, you need to remember very, very simply that you cannot change anyone but yourself.
And we'll cut there. And we'll cut there.
So the only reason why you became negative is because somebody else was being negative. You changed for them, and therefore you can change yourself back.
And we've got a break here. Sorry,
And
it's a little all over the place. I have to recenter. So I want to keep the end of that word.
back.
Do you see how this is a k, k? We want to keep that because that's the whole word. And we're going to go here.
Change yourself back. And you're not going to be able to make them happy. No one can ever make anyone else happy. You can only do things that can hopefully set the situation up for success. But if that...
And we have a break. And you'll also notice that on this particular tip, and I did this on purpose, I went a little rambly, and you could just look at your activity, right? Like this is all the same point that I'm making here. And I'm probably moving on to point number 3 here.
And my third tip of the...
Exactly. So knowing that, you could look at this while you're editing and go, I'm already at... by the time this is done, it's at 2:50, and I was really hoping this video was only going to be about 3 to 4 minutes, so maybe I'll pare some of this down. If you felt that way, you really could have stopped it right around here.
Hopefully set the situation up for success. But if that person is so dead set...
So I kind of go on this tangent about some other person, and it may or may not be valuable for the video. You can keep it all in now and then decide later, like, that's a solid minute that I could cut right now, or a little less than a minute. So I'm going to keep it in mind for later if I need to pare this down. But we're going to keep it for now and see how it goes.
On the negative, all you can do is change yourself. Maybe to benefit them, definitely to benefit you.
And we'll cut. Cut.
So whenever somebody else is being negative, you've just got to remember, I can only change myself. And if you put a big fat smile on your face while you're saying that, first of all, negative Nancy over there is going to be like, I don't know what you just did, but I'm pissed. And you're going to be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Everything's good. And
getting real rambly here.
you just feel so much better when you become bigger than maybe what your feelings are trying to convince you of. Step away from
Got that. All the way at the end and the beginning.
Step away from those feelings and remember, you can only change yourself, and stand up straighter, smile, and remember that you can always be happy if you want to.
Yes, you can, girl. Yes, you can. Okay. All right. So now we're moving on to point number 3. This is all in the content bullets. If you remember from your filming notes, I'm reading from my content bullets right now because I have 3 tips, and this is what they are. And my third tip of the day for getting a little bit happier is to notice the things that bring you legit joy. Like, so much joy. And cut that, and we'll cut here.
There are times when I'm like, oh, I love watching TV. And it's like, oh, just because it's lazy, it's easy, it's fine. I don't feel that productive, but I enjoy it.
And cut, and what does this sound?
That is...
Okay, that's a part of the word, so we need to keep that.
But I enjoy it. That is not the same joy that I feel as eating coconut.
No, it is not. Coconut is divine.
Eating coconut. Like, there is something about coconut, anything, that makes me so happy.
We can see that. We can see that. Okay.
Happy. But if I didn't...
I'm going to cut that here. And break.
Happy. But if I didn't know that, I wouldn't be able to do more of it. Not too much. Like, okay, we can all have a little bit too much coconut.
Can we have a little too much? I don't know if we can. Sorry, I'm having a lot of fun with this. Okay. Where are we at here?
But enough to just...
yeah, I think we'll keep that but. Sometimes I take the word but out. It just depends on if I need it or not.
I'll have a little bit too much coconut. But enough to just be like, today I'm going to have the coconut, because I know that is just going to boost my mood at least 10%, if not 20.
That's a big boost. Big boost. I'll take a 20% boost right now. I really just need coffee right now. Okay.
When you start...
yeah, that's a long word. Okay.
When you start to notice the things that make you super happy for the weirdest, smallest reasons, you can start to bring those things into your life a little bit more often, knowing it's for you.
Yes. Get it. All right, so very clearly we have just a little bit of the video left to edit, and we've gotten through all of our content. That can only mean one thing. It's time for that call for response, and that should be right here.
Those are 3 ideas that I have today for getting a little happier. I want to know what your ideas are. Leave them in the comments below, because I'm always looking for these kinds of secrets, and I'm sure everyone watching is thinking it too.
Of course they are. Everybody has their secret. Okay, and then after call for response is call to action.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, and I can tell I messed that one up because I got a little itchy and I was laughing at myself, so I'm going to go ahead and skip forward to make sure I'm
Thank you so much for watching.
Yep. I'm going to trim that, take this out. Really paring down this video.
Thank you so much for watching. If you would like a free resource...
Oh, I messed up again. Really paring this down. Okay, good.
Thank you so much.
Cut.
Thank you so much for watching. If you would like my free resource, which is the Daily Morning Happiness Checklist, I've got a link to it in the description below. That'll put you on my email list, and that way I can let you know every time I have a new video or another new resource that you would love that'll make you a little bit happier. Check that out in the description below.
And that's the end of our call to action, which means it's time to close the video.
That's all for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Perfect. All right, so we've got 426. That's not too bad. And so now what we need to do, and I'm probably going to add this guy to the end. And it's time to jump cut. So, I think we'll just dig straight into that. So I take an additional step for my jump cutting to ensure that the audio doesn't move out of place. But the audio does need to be separated from the video in order for us to effectively jump cut. So let's get started. We're just going to go section by section here and right click to detach audio. You can also use these hotkeys. It's completely up to you. And we will go ahead and basically the art of the jump cut is the audio. If you can't make the audio sound good, it's never going to work. A lot of people tell me, they ask, why is your jump cutting why does it sound so good? Why does it look so good? Because mine seems really choppy. And the reason is that you're not adjusting audio. You're literally just cutting like this. So what we need to do is understand that it keeps the ears engaged when we have multiple audios happening at once. Just because I finished a word here doesn't mean you need to see my entire all my facial expressions to finish that word. We can move on to the next one while that's happening. So let's take a listen to this. And we're just literally pulling back the next clip to happen sooner while letting myself finish that word, because we need it to happen audio-wise, but we don't need it to happen video-wise.
Hey, thanks for being here. My name is Amy. Welcome to my channel. It's okay to be sad.
So that might be a little quick. It depends on the pacing that you want to have with your audience. You can jump cut and not necessarily be on top of everything.
Welcome to my channel. It's okay to be...
But that's going to be faster paced than if you would have waited to here. So I like it kind of like here.
My channel. It's okay to be sad.
And so now I'm just going to hit the arrow key down because I don't need to hear myself say everything over again. I'm going to detach this audio and pull back.
Is to get a little happier. Before we jump in, make sure you
and that's good. We'll drop the audio and pull back.
and I'd love to see you back. The first idea to help you
Move forward, drop the audio, pull back. See how this isn't taking me very much time because all I have to do is hear it once and I know if it's good or not.
a gratitude journal. I always
And we're going to drop the audio. And it's getting low at this point. The other thing that you can do is...
weren't so nice. So by staying...
So do you hear how there's like multiple sounds? I try to intercept those as much as possible. So
weren't so nice.
So I'm going to probably bring it back even more.
Weren't so nice. So by staying in that...
So you can see how, like, because there's multiple S's there, they really help each other so they can happen at the exact same time.
Weren't so nice. So by staying in that...
And we'll move forward. The other thing that you can choose to do is separate audio at the same time. So detach audio, because you're more likely to keep them closer together so you can see them instead of this sort of stair-stepping thing that's happening. That's going to happen anyway, but it can happen after you've done the edit. So I'll show you it in the next one.
What's going on up there? My second tip...
Move forward, detach.
Lots. Like, they're the ones...
Forward, detach, pull back,
time. At this point...
forward, detach, pull back.
So the only reason...
That sounds fine. Forward, detach, pull back,
back. And you're not going to be able to make...
forward. And I'm just pressing that down button to get forward. Pull this back.
success. But if that...
down button, detach. Right.
fit you. So whenever some...
Forward. The nice thing about this is once you hear it, if you think it sounds good, just this tail end of it, you're good.
You step away from...
And you can just keep going, and you don't have to spend an entire other round of editing watching the entire video. You can do it later.
And my third tip of the day...
I love just going through and doing all this jump cutting and then going back and re-watching the video with this edit.
Much joy. There are times...
It's so much faster. Let's see this live.
Enjoy it. That is not the same. Like there are some...
I can't hear that one well enough. I gotta scroll back.
Coconut. Like there is something...
Okay. Good. Detach.
Happy. But if I didn't...
Simply because there is not this tiny little break in audio can be so big for a final product, which is why I love jump cutting so much. Even if you didn't want to use this strategy, you could literally just detach audio and extend this audio and extend this audio. And because of this overlap, it's going to be much more fluid. Listen.
20. When you start...
Instead of the break, it is so much nicer to do that. So you don't have to jump cut to have this audio stuff work for
20.
you.
When you... For you. Those are three...
All right.
It too. Thank you so much.
Almost done. Detach.
Below. That's all for this episode.
Great. So now you've reached the end of your video, and At this point, and we're not going to do it in real time, I would recommend that you go ahead and watch this, because even though you listen to everything and everything sounds good, you want to make sure you didn't miss any cuts, any breaks that you accidentally took and didn't cut out. You want to make sure every jump cut sounds okay. And so we'll just start to listen to this first section.
We all feel a little bit down in the dumps sometimes, but don't worry, I have a couple of ideas to help you out.
Title screen, we'll work on that in a minute.
Hey, thanks for being here. My name is Amy. Welcome to my channel. It's okay to be sad sometimes, but it's also kind of annoying. So you have to be able to pull yourself out of a crappy feeling every once in a while. And I have some ideas to help you do that. So today we're going to talk about 3 ways to get a little happier. Before we jump in, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I make new videos every Wednesday, and I'd love to see you back. The first idea to help you get happier is...
So you can also make executive decisions when you're going through certain sections of the video, like when this is the mini CTA.
Make new videos every Wednesday, and I'd love to...
After a mini CTA, just to give someone the visual reinforcement that I'm moving into the content now, you could do something like push transition.
Every Wednesday, and I'd love to see you back. The first idea to help you get...
And you can kind of see like, okay, we're getting started here. The other thing that you could do is simply make another title screen and have it say, you know, tip number 1. And why don't we go ahead and just use the push-up sample in this case to keep it easy. But it's a really great idea to tie in as much of your branding as possible. So maybe it makes sense for you to just throw a title on top of that. And then you have, of course, 2 more of those, and then you have sort of like this pink consistency throughout. But I'm going to cut that because I'm just going to keep this really simple for now, and we're just going to use the push. So let's say that I've walked through this entire thing and I like it. Now I'm going to work on my title card here. I definitely want to make sure that I have my cross dissolve here as well. And we're going to go grab a title. And so we have buttons and titles are here. So I'm just going to try one that I like. I think let's just go with the basic one. And we're going to trim it down. 3 tips to get happier. And you can, of course, change the font, change anything that you like about this. I don't want this color to be red. I want it to be green. And so we'll do that, and let's see what that looks like, because this title should come with its own transition too. As you can see, it's kind of faded, so I don't need to add like the transition effect to the titles.
To help you out.
A little fast, so let's delete this, extend this out a bit, add that cross dissolve back in. Sometimes if you do this too fast for the transition, the transition, I should say the title transition that was built into it, that this plugin, it won't work properly, so you have to kind of drag it out. That's not bad.
Hey, thanks for being here. My name is Amy. Welcome to my channel.
So there you go, and you could even move this title card to be right before the content instead. Like you could have just done your opener, you could, and so like for instance, if we wanted to move this here, we could do that instead. And let me move these transitions now, as the way we're starting the video.
And I'd love to see you back.
And the other thing that you could do if you still wanted that sort of like title card, and you'll notice that we changed things here, is you can then add, you could just add this here. You know, and you could put the name of your channel here. And so then that could be your title card. So you could still have both, but then have this really nicely transition into the content.
A couple of ideas to help you out.
In my situation, I usually put Amy TV here. So
hey, thanks for being here.
That's the example that I would give. The other thing that I highly recommend that you do is get some music. So if you go to vloglikeaboss.com/music, you'll be taken to Epidemic Sound. I love, love, love this website for music, and you can just like choose something based on when you sign up. You can do a YouTube subscription, so based on how many views you get, you can pay a certain rate to use the site. It's a 30-day free trial when you first start, and just download music that you are more than welcome to use in your videos, royalty-free, and they're really, really good tracks. So once you download your track and then you import it into your library, here we could just drag this down. And I don't like to do music until after the video is done being edited, just because it's really hard to focus on making sure your own audio is good if you're listening to music at the same time while you're editing. So let's see. The other thing you can do in Final Cut is you can actually, I think you can actually drag this. Oh no, I guess you can't. It wants it to come down here.
Ideas to help you out.
So that's nice. I might like lead it in a little bit more. I like to slowly incline my music, and this is way too loud. Let's put
Couple of ideas to help you out.
Yeah, -16 feels good for this track.
Hey, thanks for being here.
Now, I don't want the music to play for the whole episode, so I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to fade it out. And probably not for that long.
Hey, thanks for being here. My name is Amy. Welcome to my channel. It's okay to be sad
So now you have that, and I might even take that same track, copy it, paste it for my title sequences
and
here.
I'd love to see you back. The first idea.
Great. And then we'll do it again to close out the video. And I'll probably have it play while I'm saying goodbye and extend it out.
Below. That's all for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you next time.
And we want to cross dissolve this out. Oh, we have to trim it out first.
Forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
So I'm just going to leave this blank. You can do a number of things with this. You can go find a title card that you like. MTuber has a couple of things. I actually recommend you don't get too fancy with this, because what you can do is use the YouTube features that we're going to talk about later overlaid onto this pink, and it looks really nice. So I really don't need to do anything with it here. It just needs to kind of be there. And so that's pretty much the edit. That's as simple as it can be with your content. And so the jump cutting really makes it sound nice. Music adds a little bit of flavor, and your title sequences don't have to be long and drawn out to make it look really professional. And so now what we're going to do is we're just going to export this project. I'm going to go to Export File. And I don't use these quick options for Facebook, YouTube. Like I don't upload from my editor. I prefer to do it totally natively by exporting something and then uploading it manually, because it's better for SEO, in my opinion. I have these on all the wrong options right now. I always export in 1080p. That's 1920 by 1080. So you can choose, you obviously want video and audio, and H.264 is fine. And this is going to make a QuickTime file, and it's about 600 megabytes, so that's pretty good size. I'm going to hit next, and we are going to find a folder for it. Oh, I suppose that was the folder, wasn't it? Yep, save. And this dial up here will show you how far you are with exporting this project. If you want to click on this, I'm going to pull this into frame here. It's basically going to tell you not how long, but like how far along you are in the process of exporting the video. I absolutely love Final Cut Pro because it exports so much faster. And it also depends on a lot of things, but so much faster than Adobe did for me. And it really has a lot to do with how much you have going on here. Like if you have a lot of overlays, a lot of images, a lot of things happening, it can take a little bit longer. But in this situation, it's really sort of like a hacked up video with a couple of things added, and it usually does not take very long at all. But I usually just keep this closed and watch for this thing to fill up and for the video to be done editing. And that's a really great and effective and reliable editing process that I hope will help you.
A lot to take in there. I'm sure you can watch this back as many times as you like to get a better understanding of how to do this as you continue to pick up your editing skills, or if you would like to have somebody else watch it and say, hey, do this kind of thing. You should totally do that if you're hiring an editor as well. And I am ready to talk to you about getting this thing uploaded and ready for YouTube. That will be in the next module. See you there.